Alright, just look at the camera and the lens. Perfect. Right there. Okay. Alright. So when's the last time that you cried?
The last time I cried?
Yeah.
Man,
Whoa. That got deep quick on me.
Last time that I cried, it was about almost 2 years ago. I'll never forget. I was going through a whole bunch of stuff. Like, it was just a whole bunch going on in my life. Like, I'm talking like home life, school, grades, friends, love life. Like, literally everything felt like it was crashing down, right? And I was dead broke. I'm not the type of person to be dead broke, and I was dead broke, so that's how you know, like, there was just a lot going on. And I was in church. I was with Michael Sandu. Everything the pastor was saying was just like my exact situation, right? And that's not even when it hit me. But it was the prayer at the end of the sermon. He just started praying. We all bowed our heads, we closed our eyes, and we all started praying. And like, it was like an out-of-body experience, because I didn't even feel myself starting to cry, but when we opened our eyes after the prayer, it was just beads of tears just came down. And I was like, wow, like, so I don't know if it was necessarily like, I think that was God's way of telling me, like, you need to let everything inside of you out.
it's been like a couple of months to a year.
To be honest, probably like on the summertime. Talking to my dad in Nigeria. Talking to my mom. I just a little, I don't know what. I'm a mama's boy, so like, my mom's really, really talking to me, really talking that talk. My dad is too, he traveled. So, yeah, that's what gets me. That's what strikes me. I don't know if that answered the question, but then I can't remember.
I would have to say the last time I cried was, I think my mom had like taken away my phone. I think I was like, I would have to say like 16 or 15.
16, 15? Yeah. And how old are you now?
I'm 21.
21.
It's hard for me to hear about young men dealing with depression.
Why?
Because in my world, right, nobody cares about how you feel.
Since the beginning of time, black men have always been seen as emotionless, strong, and oftentimes carefree. The mental health of black men is not questioned often, and many of us wonder why.
But as a man, with a woman, a child, a mom, a brother who's currently unemployed, my wife's mom, they expect you to rise to the occasion. That is the expectation.
And mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
Why don't black men seek professional help in their time of need, especially around issues related to mental health? Is it shame, fear, judgment? Keep watching as we discuss. Hey gems, it's Cindyrella LG and welcome back to my channel. So as y'all can see, I have some wonderful guests with me today, and we're going to be talking about mental health concerning black men. It's a topic that does not go noticed often, and I wanted to be not the first, but I wanted to be a pioneer in talking about it. And who better to have than black men right here? So today we're gonna hit a lot of topics, and yeah. So with that being said, let's get right into the questions. Why do you guys think it's a taboo in the black community to talk about mental health?
It's the way we're raised. I mean, what you know is what you teach. So, I mean, our parents coming up, wherever they came up, whether it's Yoruba, Accra, and Ghana, Yoruba land or Accra, Ghana or Igbo land or Somalia. That's how they were taught. I'm a first generation Nigerian born, American born Nigerian. So our people go about it a very different way. You know, when they ask their children to, you know, express, or when it comes to the emotional side of it, just hardcore Africans, do what you do and do it the best way. Don't talk shit, just do it. You don't cry or nothing. I'll slap you when you cry. You know, I'll beat you cry again, I'll beat the crowd of you. So that's how it is. That's pretty much it.
That's real. I agree with that. I think it all begins in the home, and it's not just like we don't talk about mental health in the general sense, but like it really affects the way that we process stress, like with school, with our job, with our relationships and everything. And I feel like at some point in life, if it's not addressed, you'll start to see things. You know what I mean? Me and my mom come from a single parent household. We didn't talk about emotions at all. Like, me and my mom and my brother, we were really just like rugged people. Like, you know, we would say like I love you and stuff like that on the phone, but other than that, like we didn't have like household talks about our feelings. We didn't have like heart to hearts and things like that. You know, other than I love yous here and there, like there wasn't really much emotion in any of our relationships, at least on the outside. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird relationship, but like we knew that we got each other and that we love each other. But when it comes to expressing emotions, we didn't really do that with each other, and I feel like that kind of translated into my life now. Like I'm either too emotional or I'm emotionless, and I feel like that's because of the way that I was brought up.
I definitely feel like a lot of people, college students, they get downplayed about what their life is, the struggles that they have in life, studying late at night, having not enough food, going through hard, rigorous tests, also competing just so you can maybe get into your career. And you tell your parents this, and a lot of parents just downplay it like it's nothing. Parents are African. Emotions is nothing to them. They have other things to worry about. But really, what really taught me not to show emotion was playing football. Football was no emotion. And literally from high school to college, it was getting taught, don't ever show emotion. So a lot of times when situations are tough, or when there's a death or something like that, like I be in a secure area for a little bit, and once I'm there for like couple of hours, I literally can get out of that room and I'll be good. No, it's okay. You're not sick. You're not sick enough. Oh, you don't have money. You can manage. You hurt. You need to go to the doctor. You're good. And it really downplays people, because a lot of people honestly go into their rooms and scream. You know how many times, I won't even lie, because a couple of times I was going through school, I just went in my room and just yelled, just because like it was crazy. And that actually, UNT even has a room where basically it's like a stress reliever room, because like for people that actually to yell, and that's honestly a problem within itself, because it's like, why are college students stressing? You know what I'm saying? That's mental health. And not a lot of people, when's the last time you honestly see a lot of African Americans say, oh, I need to go to a counselor? A lot of people be like, nah, they're friends with counseling. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that's really serious. Mental health is a really big, serious thing. That's why a lot of people go to social media and they cry for help. And a lot of times people still ignore it. That's why, not going into the level of suicidal stuff, because that's another level of mental health. That's why it's always important when you have your friend and they're saying they're going through something, or your best friends, check up on them once a week, check them on once a month. Because I have people that I knew that honestly they were going through stuff that I was always thinking everybody's good. You know what I'm saying? You always think your friends are good. You good, your friend's good. You don't know your friends be going through things. So that's really important.
Going back to what you were saying about how black people like don't do counseling and stuff. When I was growing up, I never, you know what I'm saying, went to my mom and asked her a question about certain things. I just kept all the emotions inside. I never really how can I say this? I just kept it to myself. I never really talked to anybody. The only person I would probably talk to is probably my friends and stuff like that. To be honest with you,
Nate never really talked to me about expressing my emotions and stuff like that. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't remember the last time me and my mom and my dad we talked about me expressing some feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you feel like it's seen as wrong to seek help, or it's seen as not a black thing to seek help professionally? Do you guys think that it's healthy to only go to friends, to only go to family?
The answer to your first question is pride. That's definitely number one. I mean, what do I look like saying? I'm going to go to a random person that I don't know and tell them all my problems when I have 10 friends that know exactly what my lifestyle is. You understand? But on the flip side, we're trained professionals. They're people that understand how the brain works and how the physiology of the human anatomy, like how things work. You know what I'm saying? And sorry to say, but our friends don't have that training, and it's different to get, advice from somebody and work through things with somebody that has that training. I've never personally gone to a counselor, but I've gone to, my mom's pretty much a counselor because she did it. She's done that work, so until I have problems, I go to her and my dad. So, and also, what was the second part to your question? It was two parts.
Why do you feel like it's only necessary for us to go to our friends or family?
I mean, because that's who's right in reach. You're not gonna stretch your boundaries to go to something you don't know. I mean, we love comfort. Nobody wants to go outside of the comfort zones. You're not gonna go live in Tallahassee tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna stay right where you know. So, just comfort really. If I have a problem, just call the first few numbers I know. So, I just think it's important. Like my mom always used to tell me, never go to bed angry. Because like you were saying before, if you let it build up within inside you, it'll come to a breaking point where you won't know, and depending on where your body chooses to break, you better hope it's down here and not up here. Because if it's up here, it's almost like how they say, let's say it takes like 1,000,000 drops of water to build an ocean. It's almost impossible to go back at that point. And that's where you see the suicides. That's where you see the crazy things. Like, it's really a build-up over years. It's not just one instance. So.
But the thing is, I feel like you're not gonna see a lot of suicides and stuff like that within the black community.
You think so?
Yeah.
I disagree. I also feel like we talked about school, but you know how many people don't eat because they're in relationship problems? You know how many girls I've actually hear that be like, my boyfriend's mad at me, so I haven't eaten for 3 days. Like, there's a lot of mental health goes into relationships too. So, and that's something that it's, which is like, why don't you just go to a professional help? A lot of girls really would just go to their friends and be like, what do you think's the problem? And sometimes those friends, when you get it from your friends, they be misguided type of advice sometimes. Not saying every advice is bad, but some advice be misguided, and it's probably from different interests. And when you give misguided advice to people that are already hurt, and it leads them it could lead them to the wrong path. That's why, honestly, it's really imperative to go to professional help with people that don't really know you at all, to a stranger. So they would give you the real thing. Because a lot of people don't want to go to their parents about relationship problems, because their parents would sometimes even take them away from school because they feel like it's too much. And that's something that I think will be really essential.
So do you think, I understand what you're saying completely, but do you think that leads them to the breaking point where they're gonna actually like kill themselves?
Well,
But
actually,
that's-
You're talking about within the black community?
Yes.
let me discuss that. Well, the mindset of suicide doesn't happen in the black community is exactly what's holding us back. And I hate the fact that we wait until it's too late every single time to address it and be like, oh, I didn't see it coming. Of course you didn't, because you don't see it in the media. When you hear about suicide, it's usually not a black face that you see, but it does definitely happen. It may not be highlighted as much, but it does definitely happen. And I don't want to use just suicide as an example, because there are a lot. And to kind of bring it to a more real perspective in your mind, like me personally, I think people who pop 10 pills every weekend and drink themselves into a coma, I think those people are, in their head, they're also at a very terrible place and in a space that's hard to get back out of. There's no reason that anybody should be taking kind of drugs or alcohol or anything like that to get to a point where they can't. They're looking to get to a point where they can't feel anything anymore or think in with their regular brain anymore. They want to get out of their head. They want to get out of their body, out of that space. And in a sense, it's almost suicidal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because of that, we see that a lot, and we pass it off as, oh, okay, like, you know, they just live, like they just, you know, they trying to turn up. But at the same time, it's almost in that same family of suicide to me. And it's like when I see that with people that I may know or people that I know is like friends and things like that, like I really ask, like, are they okay? Like, are they good? Are they really just turning up, or are they trying to run from something, get away from something? You see what I'm saying?
To speak to that, that's very important, because I see why you would say what you said, but like Tola said, there are different types of suicide. There's ego death, where you're not yourself anymore. There's where you take somebody else's life to fill the void of your own. There's drinking yourself into despair. There's pills, like you said. There's social media. People, it's gonna be crazy. I predict probably in about 10 years there'll probably be a lot of, like you have Alcoholics Anonymous, there'll be a lot of mental health institutes just for social media. And
I think there probably should already be.
There should already be, and it's to a point where they say high levels of dopamine are released when we look at our screens constantly, seeing tweets, it's a gratification world. Even have an app named Instagram, you know what I'm saying? So with that instant gratification coming to your mind constantly and chemically imbalancing your brain, that leads to a whole nother different side of the story. That's physiology.
And that's exactly what it is. What I read, because I'm a psychology major, but what I read is that our social media can actually lead us to depression without us even knowing. The more we turn on our screens, the more that we get excited to look at, you know, those different outlets, is the more that we're kind of like getting detached from the real world. So I'm glad that you brought up that point. So the next question is, why do you men, or black men specifically, not provide a space to speak with each other about their mental well-being?
Masculinity is fragile, man.
Yes. The closest thing would be when you just with your friends and your homeboys and y'all just talking like, well, I'm thinking even older. When you're older, it'd probably be like a man cave, but when you're going out to drink, it would really just be when y'all chilling and you're just talking like, how's life with you? And really, that's probably the only time we ever really check on our homeboys. Like, how's life? You being good? How's this? That's simple questions. We won't ever be like, hey, like, how's the relationship? Are you like, is your mind okay? How some girls would dig deep into emotions. Guys is very surface level questions. And a lot of people, because they want to avoid all that deep conversation, a lot of people would not say it. And I have like people I know that honestly, I didn't realize they were going through some. And because I was asking surface level questions, they didn't tell, they just answered it simply, I'm good. When they really weren't good. So I think really to fix the situation, it's really dig deep and ask questions where they can't just answer it as a yes or no, and really get the right answer you need.
And that's why I feel like it's really important that we kind of create a culture to actually see like professionals. Like he said, there are, my bad, look at the camera. Like he said, there are people who are trained to really dig deep. And I feel like the problem isn't necessarily that we're not asking the right questions. I think it's we don't know how to answer those questions. People that be like, I'm good, that's all they've said their entire life. They don't really know how to say, no, I'm not good, you know, I'm sleeping a lot later than, you know, I usually do, and that's because I'm depressed, because this is going on in my life. And
I wouldn't even, as a friend, I wouldn't even really know how to help you if you saw you're going through that.
Exactly.
I don't know how to break you down physically.
Exactly.
Okay, you do this and this and this, and this will help you get to this. Just like our natural coping mechanism. So I see what you're saying.
That's real talk.
To be honest with y'all, like, I never really had somebody I can just sit there and just talk to about that. Like I told y'all before, I keep everything inside. Like, I'm good. I think the only person I've talked to about it is like my cousin, probably like my dad a couple times, but I never really had that friend. I think it was probably like my roommates I took to a couple times, but it wasn't really like deep or in depth. So
Do you feel like you need it?
I do. I need it. I just don't know who I would talk to, bro.
Bro, I'm here for you, bro.
Thank you.
Real talk.
And you'd be surprised, like that's not a weird thing. That's not a terrible thing. Like, shameless plug, I just got back from a retreat known as the Black Student Experience, and out of we take 100 students, 232 applied, only 50 of those were males. So that's a whole nother topic within itself about black men. But at the end of the day, like, we really sat and we talked to them. A lot of them, of course, didn't have like father figures or mentors or anything like that. So what we do within the Black Student Experience is give them two mentors, a man and a woman, and they're with them basically for life. And you know, we have a section called Life Maps where they basically talk about their life. They really dig deep and say, this is why I am who I am. And students will come up to me and be like, that was the first time I've ever done that in my life. That was the first time I ever talked about me and figured out things about me. And as I was talking, I learned why I'm this way and why I'm doing this. And specifically just talking about black males, almost all of them felt that way. All of them. I'm the type of person to never really deal with my emotions and everything that's going on mentally. I don't deal with it directly. I feel like I find indirect forms to deal with it. And it comes out in spaces and areas where, you know, it shouldn't really come.
Have you seen your fathers cry?
I have
One time.
once or twice. I have once or twice, and that was big for me as a young man because it's like, dang, like, the guy that doesn't like sugar. So I've never, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like the most perfect person to me. So I'm like, wow, you can actually, you know, really express yourself. Like just, that was big for me as a young man, just growing up, seeing that. So that allowed me to know it's okay.
Yeah. I saw my dad cry when I was like maybe 10 or 11, and it was an argument between my mom and my dad. I don't know if I really want to like say it because it's too personal, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, my dad cried. And the thing is, like, in my household, my dad is very like a strong man. He doesn't show his emotions. So I was like, wow, my dad is crying. I was shocked to see that. My dad never cried.
I've never seen it.
Do you feel like crying is a weakness for men?
Yes.
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 My answer is gonna be yes, only because of society, of the culture, especially, you know, looking how we look. Being black, at the end of the day, you're a black man, you're supposed to be hard, you're supposed to be the provider. No, but you're not, you're supposed to be emotionless, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want your daughters or your sons or your brothers or your sisters or whoever to see you cry. That's not what you want.
Like, a man can cry, but it depends on like the certain situation. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, a man can't cry at like, how can I put this? Like, I would have to say the most intense thing a man can cry at is like something happening in the family, but he can't cry over like little things.
Okay.
Because men, we're not raised that way, built that way to cry over little things.
The reason why it's viewed as weak, I think so. If you waste your tears, I believe in not wasting your tears. Like using the same tears that you cry for a funeral to cry for some M&M's being stolen, that doesn't make sense. You understand? Like, not even true. It doesn't make sense to find ways of coping. You understand? Like, I feel like there are many ways to cope with different things. You know, we all have our different coping mechanisms, like how we naturally react to things. But crying is never the first resort. So that's how it can be viewed as weakness, especially in the black community. Like, why you crying all the time? Like, why the fuck you crying? Well, stop crying. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the different communities you come from, the hoods, the tribe you come from, the neighborhood, the community, wherever you come from. Especially the men will always harp on that.
Like Obi said, like, especially growing up in a lot of black households, but for sure I can speak from experience in African households, like, everything is really rugged, it's really tough, and you know, not a lot of emotion is in the household. And me and my mom and my brother personally, like I said, like we kind of all have like a what's understood doesn't have to be explained kind of relationship. So it's like we all know it's love, and that translates into my relationships now, because I don't necessarily always like constantly say things like, oh, I love you and blah blah blah, and some people need that, and I don't necessarily understand that all the time. So it's kind of a learning point for me to understand that not everybody was raised up like me, and I have to cater for people, and people also have to understand my situation as well.
Why do you guys think that it's a weakness for men to cry, but not for women?
That's really just a society thing. I think just from society, you know, women are supposed to be more emotion, and men are supposed to be the ones to protect them and hold them tight. That's more really society thing of why women more show emotions, and males are more supposed to be emotionless.
It's really hard for me to cry sometimes because I've just been getting tampered to saying no emotions, no emotions.
And really it's always supposed to be, from society looking into it, it's supposed to be women supposed to bring out the emotion into a male, and it's more of like a yin-yang type of thing.
That's perfect. Like you said, the man is the protector. The woman is I feel like the woman's the multiplier, and she holds everything down. You understand? You give the woman a house, she'll make a home. You give her groceries, she'll make a meal. She give her a seat, she'll make kings and queens. So she's meant to nurture. The women are the nurturers, and men were taught to be stone and rigid and hard, and to always have that kind of like mask, so to speak, so nobody can take advantage of us.
So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and to see more of these guys, and if you want more of these talks with these men, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to go ahead and continue this conversation. So if you'd like to see more of them, I'll go ahead and put all their information in the description box down below. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Stay blessed and beautiful, gems, and I love you. Bye.
Hit me up if you wanna make love, but don't call my phone.